Hello, fellow Creative Control listeners. My name is Mac Cameron. I live in Toronto, and I have been listening to Creative Control with Vish Khanna since episode 119. That featured all 5 members of one of my favorite bands, Constantines. I listened backwards from there and then forwards, and I know it sounds, over the top or cliche, but finding the show changed the course of my life. It inspired me to pursue a career in radio and to do what I can to support the arts in my community and across the country. So I give to Creative Control because I feel like I owe the show and Vish for helping me figure out what the hell to do with my life. Beyond that, I give to Creative Control because I think independent media, especially insightful, entertaining, thoughtful, and thorough independent media, is something that is worth paying for. What I appreciate about Creative Control is Vish's ability to treat Canadian artists, or any artist for that matter, with the seriousness and appreciation he would any other artist. His excellent rapport with people like Steve Albini and the members of Fugazi and Stephen Malcolmus and others have earned him international appreciation. However, it's his trove of interviews with what I consider to be the most exciting generation of Canadian musicians, conducted out of genuine passion and interest, that makes this show so special. I think it is an archive of some really exciting music that is way, way underreported on and appreciated. That's why I contribute to Creative Control with Vish Khanna, and I hope you will do the same.
To make your flexible monthly donation to Creative Control, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control today. I'm Vish's wife, and I will love him no matter what you do. And now he has me on the record saying that.
Friendly Rich is the pseudonym employed by the musician and arts organizer Richard Marcella, who originally hails from Brampton, Ontario. A community bridge builder and establishment apple cart upsetter, Rich is well regarded for his eclectic and theatrical musical aesthetic, which has been evolving for almost 20 years. His latest album is the darkly controversial We Are All Terrorists, which features 75 guest musicians and covers all sorts of material regarding the socio-political condition of humanity as we currently know it. Rich and I recently met at Grandad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario, for a conversation about We Are All Terrorists, his life and musical trajectory, the state of the world in a cloudy internet age of outrage, local politics and activism, his own struggles, delicious donuts, his future plans, and much more. A part of the E1 Podcast Network with the support of listeners like you who subscribe to this podcast and spread the word about it and make flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/Creative Control, plus in-kind support from Pizza Trokadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, and Grandad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario, obviously. This is the 517th episode of Creative Control, featuring my old pal, Friendly Rich, with your host, me, Vish Khanna. Rich, thanks for being back on the show.
Delighted to be here with you.
We are at Grandad's Donuts in
we
Hamilton,
are.
Ontario. I've recorded, I think, just the one episode here, but they have been loyal sponsors.
Oh, man. Well,
fattening me up.
Yeah. A toast to Grandad's.
What did you get?
I lift a Boston cream donut. That's my donut.
Yeah,
What's yours?
I got a walnut crunch.
I toast to you.
Okay.
We're not going to touch.
No, because you got a
know.
little thing. Yeah.
That's a Boston cream donut. Delightful.
This is just like how they used to make them at the Canada's national donut chain, like in the 80s.
Right?
And early 90s. And then they abandoned this amazing craftsmanship.
Yeah, these guys know what they're doing
to save money. And now
toast to Grandad's.
I love it. I love it. You picked this place. Why did you pick Grandad's?
I love this place too. It's a great hang. It's a nice booth.
Did you hear about it because of the sponsorship on my show?
And it worked.
Did you
It
really?
worked. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this works. This is marketing in action.
Have you been to my other sponsors by chance?
No.
Okay.
This is the only one that spoke to me.
Okay. Well,
Pizza Trokadero.
Trokadero.
No,
It's
God,
fantastic.
Forget it.
you go to Guelph all the time.
Maybe
You have-
I'll order pizza next time I'm in
You
Guelph.
should.
Toast.
And if you are, Phil told me.
See?
He knows I'm leaving. He said, if any of your friends want pizza, call me. I will give them pizza.
All right.
Because I'm
it's
going
a
to keep
deal.
up the sponsorship. Even if I get an Edmonton pizza sponsorship,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep promoting Pizza
The old,
Trokadero.
and you're going to nod a hat to these guys too?
I would
Granddads?
assume so.
Yeah, good,
I got to
good,
fly
man,
into the
good.
airport. It's in
Loyalty.
Hamilton. So if I'm here, I might as well get a donut.
Loyalty. I like that, Bish. I like that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, good donut. Okay, let's take. I don't know how we're going to do an interview with mouths full
Well,
of donuts, but we'll make it work.
People don't like hearing people eat while they're talking.
No, they don't. But
Well, the thing is, what I suggest from experience, I ask you a question. While you're fielding the question, I take a munch on a donut.
we'll get the timing down.
And then when you're done chewing, I ask my follow-up question.
Yeah, okay.
That's how we're going to do this, and it's going to work just fine. Now, so you picked this place, and you mentioned Guelph.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your new album. What's your new album called?
We Are All Terrorists.
And that's dangerous.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Why is it called that? I was going to say you have a song on it about Guelph.
I do.
Donkey
Donkey
Day,
Day.
yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a safer bet, probably.
We'd be more fit probably at
Yeah,
the end of it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
no, let's backtrack. Why is it called We Are All Terrorists?
Well, there's the track on the record called We Are All Terrorists is me kind of exploring that. It's been kind of the last 20 years of my career exploring this notion of, anarchy, constructive anarchy, and I get really angry when I see the term incel is new to me. It's come up in the past couple of years, but when I
Yes,
see
the
someone
voluntary-
gun down their school, like I've been
Yeah.
pretty much railing against it since Columbine, and
That's kind of what those guys were, weren't they? They were incels.
right.
They
and,
we didn't have a name for it then.
and so this is my, it's been a long time in the making, but it's my kind of getting all that out, saying be creative. I know it's more complex than that. I know a lot of it is mental illness, and I don't know what goes through someone's mind, but I've suffered some of, what I think. I would be completely off the rails if I didn't have music, right? So
Yeah,
I can kind of relate to,
Oh, I
but
see.
I'm super thankful to have channeled negative energy or weird thoughts into my music. So that's kind of where I'm at with this record. Is it explores some dark themes, obviously this one, and I didn't want to shy away from it. I thought I'm going to call it We Are All Terrorists, and I'm going to talk and sing about it and share my worldview on it. So
the
and it is dangerous, you're right.
The people who might see it as a controversial title or
Yeah.
a provocative title may be missing
Sure.
the empathy.
Right.
You're
yeah.
saying we are all in pain. Like we all have
it in us.
that hate is all within us. It's just a matter of how we can channel it and where we channel it and how we can make something positive of it.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Vish.
Did I just rate your bio?
You just did really well for me there. No, and it's been tough trying to. I've always been kind of political, but this one's definitely like me taking a step, right? And the older I get with it, the more confident I am with it. The more I want to share that. I see great importance in that, and not really dancing around it or.
So being political can mean being uncompromising. On one hand,
Right.
I mean, uncompromising being political is all about compromise. But being political can also mean putting your neck out and sticking your neck out and,
Right.
and taking stands that are maybe controversial or outside of convention.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're an uncompromising musician as well. So I'm wondering, what do you remember? Because I can't remember the last time you were on the show. We
Yeah.
did a walk from my house, my old house in Guelph,
Yeah.
to Eric the Baker.
Right.
We did a parade route
Right.
podcast. We were in transit, meeting people. I think we went to the farmers market.
That's right, we did.
We did my Saturday morning routine. Were my kids with me? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Okay.
That's fun. That pastries and donuts are always
Always
a through line.
food,
now. Yeah,
and
good, good.
I have a thing where I have breakfast with people sometimes.
man,
I used to have a whole show on our national broadcaster in Canada where I had breakfast with people. So I'm a glutton. I'm actually relatively fit for a guy who does so much eating
Around his work.
Around my work.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm relatively good shape. That's
Yeah,
what my
man.
doctor says.
Good.
Anyway, my point here is I don't remember if in that conversation, because there were a lot of distractions.
Yeah, there were.
I don't know if we got to your origin story, Rich. I don't know if we got to where this uncompromising element to your work as not only as a musician and a citizen of formerly, I think, of Brampton. Where are you these days?
I'm in Oakville, but
Oakville,
yeah, Brampton.
nearby.
Yeah.
So where does that come from? Where does your impulse to provoke change in fun, silly ways come from? Because I think of you, man, I was just talking about your Brampton Indie Arts Festival the other day with someone and how great that was.
Yeah, thanks.
You still do amazing things.
Yeah.
My question, which I'm getting to,
Yeah.
where does this impulse come from to do these things in this way?
I think it all comes from Brampton, actually, if you really think about it. It was a battle of, I think creative people come from sometimes very boring places, and for me, that was the case, right? It was always battling against, holy shit, it's just home after home after home after home, and it's just so sterile culturally that I want to kind of fight
suburb.
that. Yeah, man. Yeah. And it's a total suburban upbringing, and I want to kind of fight that boredom with putting weird, which is all I know, creative work into the world, and it growing and seeing it ferment is really exciting for me. Seeing these friendships and bonds and all of that along the way, relationships that now run 15 to 20 years deep.
How long have I known you?
Beautiful. I don't know. I mean, if you were coming to the Brampton Indie Arts Festival, that's
2003.
It started in 1999.
Oh, okay.
And went to probably around early 2000s that you came with Radio 3. I think was the
no.
When we
I
connected. Or were you coming before then?
It was with Exclaim.
Okay, right.
And it was at the Rose Theater. No,
Heritage Theater.
Which
I
I love.
Old theater, abandoned theater. Yeah,
right.
man.
And then Scott Thompson of Kids in the Hall was the MC.
Right.
I think the following year. I went one year.
Sick.
And I didn't know what was going on, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing."
It was a bit of everything, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic. You did it was well organized. Like for some of us to do there's a zine fair, and then there's a film screening, and then there's a musical show. Everything happened in the same spot. A band would finish playing a relatively short set.
Yeah.
Then a screen would come down. We just didn't have to go anywhere. It was fantastic.
I really wanted variety. I really wanted to celebrate all of that homegrown stuff, people I admired, and celebrate their work. It was a real great vehicle. I didn't realize it until it was kind of gone.
Yeah.
I was getting municipal. Speaking of political, I was getting municipal money to give hire all my friends and celebrate something, right?
So Puppeteer, really what was the Puppeteer?
Yeah, Curtains the Puppet.
The
yeah,
puppet,
man. Yeah, the host of the whole festival.
So Curtains got some money from the city.
Absolutely. It was really random, and so when I started seeing that and how strange that was that stood out, right? When it was gone, I kind of went, oh man, every city should have something like this that celebrates independent art within the city. I think that's really strong.
So you think it might have? I mean, this is sort of par for the course for people of our ilk who were raised in suburbs or smaller towns where to make things happen you had to push.
That's right. You had to create your.
You had to do your own thing to try to emulate other things you'd seen.
Yeah.
Right. So do you have a source that way? As someone or something that motivated you to go down this road, to not only put on cool arts events that are eclectic, but also push your city a little bit?
No, the political thing certainly on the artistic side, there were composers and musicians that blew my mind and got me addicted to music early, right?
Name some. I'm just curious.
Like Frank Zappa, Rimsky-Korsakov, weird composers, and the Nyla Spasm Band really blew my mind when I discovered them, and so on, right? The Residents, Ronaldo and the Loaf, all these quirky kind of humans. But the political side, actually being able to, because I could wear many hats, and that's one thing I've learned about myself. I could present to a city council and not blow my nose all over them. Or if I'm in the mood, depending on what the performance is, I could, right? But I know how to kind of, I think, change gears and talk their language when required. And I think that's a real skill.
You know who had that skill?
Who's this?
Zappa.
Right.
Frank Zappa would go before the PMRC.
Right.
And the contrast between him doing that and Dee Snider of Twisted Sister doing that, both of them very, they made a point of saying, I'm going to sound as articulate and educated as possible to fit your realm while still representing the fringes. And I thought that was interesting.
Oh, it's interesting that you pick up on that because I didn't. I mean, so maybe the inspiration
You've
was
seen
deeper than I
Zappa.
thought. Yeah, oh yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I wonder if because there is this, he and you have this, yes, have a donut. I'm going to ask another long-winded question. You might as well have a bite of food. He and you, Zappa and you, have this, it's an interesting thing, pushing weirdness into normal realms. Like taking the city's money, probably then also having to say, come on down to they'll be like, hey, our suits need to come down and check out what we're doing with this money.
Right.
So and you're like, great, come on down. And then they see what's going on, and it's a little weird. So that to me is a political act.
That's constructive anarchy at its core for me. That's me doing my thing on my terms. I ran a parade of noises for about 6 years in my hometown of Brampton, and that was making noise with members of the Nihilist Spasm band, Kid Koala, and others would come to this. Yeah. And the thing for me with that one was it was like trying to introduce them to something a little different. And boy, did homeroom teachers look funny at me and say they weren't really believing it. But then when they saw the kids getting jazzed about making noise in the classroom, that was me selling them on it. It was like, no, there's a place for this. There's a place for having fun with music and culture and community building. That's a big one for me too, right?
I have this thing with my kids where as a parent I think they're going to think one thing that as we're speaking, I'll tell you something that happened yesterday.
Go ahead.
As we're speaking, we're in Southern Ontario. We're in Hamilton. We've established that. By the time people hear this, I will have moved to Edmonton. Yesterday the moving truck was at our house. Our kids were gone the whole day. And then my wife was like, do you want to go they were at a play date. With our friend Nathan Lohr, actually.
Oh, wow.
Our mutual friend, that. Nathan Lohr, So she's like, do you want to get them so they can see the truck and the house? And I was like, yeah. I said yes, but as I was driving, I'm like, do my kids really want to see their the house they've known their whole life empty? Like, I was almost in tears earlier.
Right, sure.
Go get them. They're like, whoa, the truck. Like, it's a big transport truck. Wow, like whatever. Then they go in the house, and they're just like over the moon. And they're like, holy cow.
They were fascinated by the truck.
No.
And the whole thing.
House was empty. My kid, we have a small house. He started doing, because he had the room, cartwheels in one of the rooms. Like, look at this. I can do, look at this. So my impulse, like your homeroom teachers, was to be like, I don't think the kids are going to be into this.
It's going to be a thing of trauma, maybe, right? But
yes.
Whereas they were into it.
They were into it. I will say in my case, I think they don't. My daughter was like, so can we watch TV? And we were like, no, the TV is gone. So my thing is a bit different because they're young and they're...
Yeah, right.
I don't think the idea that it's not our house anymore has quite sunken in. But in your case, I think that we as adults think we're protecting kids, but we're really maybe protecting them from cool stuff.
You know what? That experimenting with sound and has been it's an uphill battle. Like, you're essentially battling that Royal Conservatory way of music education, and so it is an uphill climb, I admit. People want to see polished product at the end of it, no matter what the age of the musician. They don't want to see that weird shit, right?
The impulse is to show the kid the highest level of something.
So if you're working with, let's say, found sounds and quirky sounds and a quirky form or whatever it is, right? Ugly sounds even. We used to I used to write a lot about that, of like on behalf of ugly sounds in music, right? I think it's really important, like a little broccoli in your diet. Right. That's what I was doing with the Brampton Indie Arts Festival, right? Here's Hayden, fairly safe artist, and right after him, it's like, here's the Nihilist Spasm band, and have fun with it. Try to make sense of it.
That's what I would do as a show promoter as much as I could in Guelph, is you have the gateway to what is palatable, and then here's the thing that either you don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to be completely off-center, but I was always like, it's why hopefully a conscientious show promoter will add a local artist to a bill that they know they don't really even need the local artist for. The art
little
bills,
things like that go
just
a long way.
Like that's going to help a long way in your town. So that's a good point. So you've always been conscientious. Are you still a proud Bramptonian? Because there's a song, and forgive me, that this is a long record, right? There's like 22 songs or something. Yeah. So the titles are not all with me. But you have this amazing song on this new record where you're talking about bureaucracy and how.
Right.
And the mayor in that song
Yes.
is a woman, and I
Right.
remember, is she still the mayor?
No.
Okay, the
But
mayor.
replaced by Patrick Brown. So
Right,
just
of course.
As, just
Good
as
Lord.
terrible.
Oh
and-
my God. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Brampton infamously had this sort of conservative and I think inept and corrupt
Yeah,
mayor.
that's right. Well put.
What's her name?
Susan Funnel.
Susan Funnel.
Yeah.
So you have a song about Susan Funnel. How long has she been out of office?
Oh, and long enough that we can butcher her name. Yeah.
So my point is that anger at her
Yeah.
is still
yeah.
with you.
Oh, that anger goes to all three levels of government.
And
now.
that song-
right? Like it's like that piece Y2K that you're referring
that's
to
what it
is
is.
all about that, right? It's
Yeah.
like the corruption and there's so much to lash out against, and that one definitely was like. And the older you get, you realize some of these folks now are younger than you. Not that age has anything to do with it, but it's like I'm pretty sure that's a really terrible idea. You know what I mean?
The
And I
idea-
used to not be as confident, thinking, "Oh, those folks know what they're doing," but they don't.
It's an easier trope to blame the out-of-touch senior citizen for not
Right.
caring, but then when
Right.
the younger people are doing
They
it, you're
know
like,
better.
oh, what the hell?
Yeah, it
what
is a
what are they
little
doing?
concerning.
What are you
Yeah,
doing? Like, why
yeah.
are you acting like a 90-year-old?
So I think the older I get, and I fought for, or in my early days, this building, the Heritage Theater,
Yeah.
that the festival was in.
Amazing.
And if I reflect on that, it's like, no, man. Like I was just in Detroit. We go to Detroit a lot, and they preserve their buildings down there, right? It's a thing. It's like any culture, any city should. And I fought for a long time for that building and lost, right? It's like it remained empty, it remained abandoned with no plan for a decade plus.
Yeah.
And now they're just going to tear it down.
It's still
right?
up?
Yeah, it's still up, but barely. They're going to tear it down, right? It's
That
like,
sucks.
so I kind of, and then you sort of realize, wait a minute, I think I was onto something with that. Like they didn't have a plan, they didn't have vision, right? And that kind of bothers me.
It's
so
a bit.
yeah.
I don't know what to make of that. I don't have a salient point to make here,
Yeah,
except that there's some ahistoricism going on. It's odd. We kind of hector the older, out-of-touch politicians for not being progressive enough, but then the ones who come up, like the younger ones, I think there's a vague, and this is going to make me sound like an old man,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's all this.
We are at Grandad's, so
We're at Grandad's. We're old Granddads.
Go grumpy.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But there's a kind of weird ahistoricism that goes on among some people, and sometimes where they don't look at precedents as being they don't care about the old buildings, but they also don't right now, in particular, in an age of misinformation, as weaponized misinformation. Ahistoricism is a really handy weapon in that arsenal because you can be like, it doesn't matter, or that's not true. The
Right.
way that was framed 60 years ago.
Right.
Even though we're saying on the one hand, we must honor those traditions. The thing that you're mad about, that's a gray area. Like there's this
Right.
all this misinterpretation, or I don't know. It's a very confusing time to be you and to be me. And I don't want to cast a broad brush on the young people for this, but because on the other hand, I mean, in the musical realm, vinyl sales are through the roof.
Yeah.
People want the tangible
Yep.
historical artifact more than they have in some time.
Right.
And a lot of them are young people.
Yeah.
I'm very confused, Rich. I don't know
same.
what I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to behave. I do, but I don't know how other people are behaving.
It's a fascinating time, though, isn't it? Like
I think
as
so.
vulnerable as it is, I'm just super thankful from my perspective that I get to keep putting these things out there and seeing what happens and communicating with an audience, and that's really special. The older you get with it, and it ain't a super big audience for my work, right? But I value that more and more. That dialogue, that back and forth. It's kind of interesting, right?
Well, you don't get to. I'm starting to feel that way as I get older too. That this time is precious, right? Like I'm not gonna. Something could. I might not be able to do this forever, and that's. I'm realizing that and trying to savor that more, particularly as I move away from my friends.
Man.
So
it
is a weird time. So this particular record is hard to categorize. There's a lot of different sounds, and it's very eclectic. It seems, I think a lot of your work has been this way. Does this record, We Are All Terrorists, seem particularly distinct from your previous records? Like, it seems ambitious. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, it took me, as a workaholic, it took me 2.5 years to make, so that was a long time because I broke it up into, I really wanted to celebrate all those friends that I've worked with. So from anyone from Dinner Is Ruined Band to Hoxley Workman and Kevin Bright, we did a couple tracks together, to the Layrite Boys, Nicholas Robertson, he's played on pretty much all my records. I wanted to, those are only a few of that. The Element Choir are another one. I'm changing gears. It is like changing channels.
Yeah.
Every track.
Every song.
Yeah.
And you've got these noise. There's a
that's
suite.
the Element Choir. Yeah.
And what's that suite? It's like a suite, isn't it?
The Terror Variations.
Yeah.
Like
and
they're kind of fucking with that end tune. We Are All Terrorists in different ways with that choir.
Right.
So it's ambitious. I did it in multiple studios in Montreal, here in GTA. I wanted to do that. I wanted to celebrate. And then I had my one producer mix the whole thing. The guy that's kind of done all my records, Greg Dawson, out in Kingston.
Yeah. Okay.
Who does he's done all my work pretty much for the past 15 years.
So, you're hinting at a kind of reflective aspect to this. You reined in. I mean, the people you describe, you have worked with them over the years. Have you?
Yeah.
But you don't often have them all appear on a record.
Well, you can't.
couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. My prior records were like, okay, let's spend 5 days at Hoxley Workman's studio, me, him, and Kevin, and we did the Great Blue Heron record, right? I've kind of done all my work that way in a standard. Here's a band. Here's one.
So this is different.
This takes off from that. Yeah.
Was there a particular milestone in play? Like, why would you want to?
Man, to be honest with you, it was listening to a lot of hip hop and seeing the way they break open. Seeing that production approach really inspired me. I was like, oh, every song could be an adventure. It doesn't have to be so one lane kind of. That blew my mind, and it doesn't show on. It's not.
You mean stylistically?
Stylistically, it doesn't show at all. But that's kind of what threw me in that direction.
Interesting, because you've always had an what's the word I'm trying to say?
You were going for eclecticity, so I'll go there with you.
Thank you very much.
I got it. I got
donut brain right now.
Yeah.
But you've always had this element to your work, and when you talk about found sound and noise, I mean that's a very open-ended approach. But you're going from one of these terrorism suites to an old-timey bluegrass kind of country song, and it's very jarring on some level. And it seems like a very holistic, friendly, rich statement. So I guess I just wonder about the motivations for that. You're saying hip-hop drew you there, but any other reason? Like, sometimes you do things like this when you're like, I'm closing a chapter here, and I want to gather everyone who's been involved. Like a farewell party almost. I'm not saying you're going anywhere.
Right.
But
my wife thought, this is super dark. There's a video for it. Like Marty McPherson did a 1 hour film that accompanies the whole listen.
I think I saw you post that somewhere.
My face melting, made out of like rottable materials. So it's like essentially you're watching me like rot. And she thought it was like a suicide. Right. It deals with some dark elements. I'm not going to deny that, but. I'm still very much here.
Are you okay?
Man. Yes.
Okay.
But I'm definitely dealing with after listening to the whole record top to bottom, I was like, am I okay? I think I'm okay.
Your name is Friendly Rich. You're always cackling and giggling and cheery, but I do think some of the things you're drawn to are weird and dark. And so
sure, man.
I mean, there's songs on here where you tend to adopt voices too. To put certain songs and moods across, and they get very guttural and screamy, and I don't know. I don't want to put like in the realms of Mike Patton maybe, or Beefheart. These kinds of people, gritty, guttural, and it sounds bad. So that's in you somewhere. This darkness is. Are you something you have to keep at bay?
Well, that's kind of the push and pull on this record is like. The title track, We Are All Terrorists, maybe I'll skin me a cat tonight or just walk home and jerk off, right? It's like just kind of this incel bullshit. Like just go deal with it however you must, but don't hurt anyone else in the process, right?
So we talked about the empathy. You relate to these kinds of guys, but you're not celebrating them. There tend to be guys.
Oh God, no, and that's what I need to be very clear on.
Yeah.
Is every time I've spoken about this record, it's like I'm on one side here, and that's unacceptable conduct.
Yeah.
Be creative, do whatever you got to do, but don't hurt anyone else in the process. And that's what I think is. It's a dangerous kind of. So I take this seriously, and it's something I've learned in releasing this record too is that how do you want to age as an artist? You know, what do you want to put out there? And maybe it was the wrong move to call it "We Are All Terrorists," but I'm thankful for this opportunity to speak to you or anyone else who will listen.
Has it been misinterpreted?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I mean, all it would take is one misinterpretation that would make me like really just upset, you know, and that was not the point of doing it. So it's the themes you choose to write about, like, all of it, right? I have been reflecting a lot since the release of this record, right? For sure.
On it
And how it's put out and interpreted and the whole thing, right? And why you make your art. It's fascinating, right?
I mean, as on a record, when you name a record, whatever you name it,
right.
That's ostensibly the first statement. That is the first statement. It is the first volley in the conversation you have with an audience.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the opening.
Donkey Day would have been totally different. Right?
Yeah,
Like
if you called it Donkey Day, people are like, okay, I guess he's made a donkey.
And you know, I wasn't in the mood to be the comedian that I'm often. You know, I've been dealing with class clowns since like grade 12, right? I was up for valedictorian. They were afraid of the speech I was going to make, so they gave me class clown. That's it. That's also me in a nutshell.
That is
so
you.
I wasn't in the mood to keep going class clown.
You
on
are
this,
both.
Right?
You are both.
I'm
those
sure.
people. You occupy that. You used to at the Brampton Indie Arts Festival. You stuck out because you wore a suit.
Right.
You would wear a suit every day, and you looked like a respectable member of society.
Thank you.
But you were this circus, and at the Friendly Rich shows too. You often are looking, you know, like you took care of yourself there, and yet you're inspiring anarchy, and so that is a weird combo of things. But you must have named this record this for a reason.
Yeah,
You're trying
and
to start a
constructive
conversation.
anarchy is what I'm about, right?
So-
but I got to be careful, right?
But if it's true that this is a conversation starter, so to speak, what kinds of conversation beyond this one? What kinds of conversations have you had about this record, and what are you surprised by? Like, are people saying, I think you mentioned the face melting video startling your wife. In this expression,
You can't watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, in this expression, this current expression, like, how are you feeling people are receiving it? What have you heard?
You know, we screened that film, the 1 hour film. My wife had to leave early that night. But it's so dark. It's
I haven't watched
almost
it.
beautiful.
Okay.
So it was like a listening party, and we sat there for an hour. I thought the room was going to be clear because it's really gross.
Yeah. But people were
People
compelled.
were saying it was beautiful, and I'm going, wow, this is not the reaction I anticipated. Like with your kids, it's like you gotta put it out there and just let it breathe and be what it is. And I'm super proud of all that. This is one of the things I'm most proud of putting out there, right? And I'm behind it, but it's fascinating, right?
It's a weird thing. We are very controlling of our expression in our own ways, as much as we like to think.
Well, you gotta be.
I know, but every time I've second guessed myself and then released something, it does better than the things I think are fine. Does that make any sense? I had this experience recently where I made a memorial episode for an artist, David Berman.
Yeah.
And I decided I had to do something, so I recorded it by myself and then was like, I listened back to it and planned to edit in clips of some of his friends and people who admired him.
Yeah.
And as I was doing it, I'm like, I can't release this. This is too whatever. Like, it's too self-involved. Mourning is a weird thing to do publicly.
Right.
It can be a bit performative, and I didn't like it. It was making me uncomfortable.
Okay.
But my wife, I said, can you just listen to this?
Yeah.
Tell me what you think. She's like, no, I think this will help people. You should.
Oh.
It's really good, and you should put it out. And lo and behold, I still get messages from people who thank me for that particular expression, even though it was completely out of my normal form of expression. So
That's really beautiful.
well, it is, and I hope
really
it relates
beautiful.
to what you're saying.
Well, it does in a lot of ways. What I picked up on there is just how often you bounce things that you're uncertain of across the table to your partner.
Yeah, that's true.
And how
they know you better.
How
They know
guiding
you
a
best.
voice that is
Yeah.
to, like I say, like if Lynn's against it or it says something's wrong with it, like, always listen to Lynn, right?
I think your partner has a custodial sort of relationship over you.
Nice.
More than most people do. Like your friends or your fans might think, oh, that's great, but
Right.
they don't. I don't mean
they
to
haven't
say
seen it develop along the way, right?
and they may not have the vested interest in you doing as well as a person.
That's true. That's true.
Like they might appreciate
Nice.
you as an artist.
Yeah.
And that's there's an inherent distance in that relationship, hopefully,
Right.
unless you have a problematic fan.
Right.
But there is a distance there where as your partner can be like, no, I understand this is important for you, but I would or wouldn't release this because it's not going to do you. It's going to do you harm, or it's going to be good for you. Something
Yeah.
like, like your
Yeah.
partner has that view of you in a way that most people don't. A producer, even.
Oh,
Ideally, your producer
100%.
Ideally, your producer is spouse-like, but they can often just be like, yeah, whatever. It's
both Greg Dawson and Lynn, my wife, have saved my ass on
Yeah.
a number of occasions.
I'm sure
just
you've pushed
editorially.
When you're a guy like you, who's I think often pushing envelopes.
I
with
guess so.
your
That's why I'm thinking more and more and more as I age. What are the themes I want to take on and why, right? Like I was in New Orleans recently, and this artist, Christine Sung Kim, she did this piece for 14 deaf Louisianans, and it blew my mind. Everyone was in tears.
Oh, wow.
And it was just really interesting. It had me looking in the mirror as an artist, long and
How
short.
so?
Well, just what are you writing about and why, right? Like, what are you putting out there in this upside-down world
Yeah.
and why, right?
Well, I also think you have an interesting dynamic as a musical artist, an outspoken musical artist, and someone who is a comedian, or at least comedically inclined. We haven't really said this, so we've talked about anarchy and politics and music. You're funny. Like
Right.
you are infusing all of this with humor.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a weird time
Yeah.
still for that. Like you say,
Right.
maybe it was a mistake to name my album We Are All Terrorists.
Right.
There's a chance 8 years ago you wouldn't have thought twice.
That's right.
There's
That's
a
right.
heightened sort of conscientiousness that's going on that is having an impact on art in a positive and negative way, I would
Yeah,
think, because
yeah.
your expression is now got this filter on it.
Yeah, yeah.
How are
Right.
you dealing with that as someone who pushes envelopes, provokes people? Does that impact you? Like on some level, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be it's supposed to help you make better judgments.
Yeah.
But I also think that you are, particularly for someone like you, who I think really values found sound improvisation. That's a dangerous realm nowadays. Like you could say or do something in the
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
moments that you've normally trusted. Those are weird spaces now. How are you dealing with that? Is that too weird a question?
No, I think, every song on this record was like I've gotten feedback that it's anxiety inducing, and that kind of makes me feel a little like I realize it's dark, and it definitely, you'll have a reaction listening to it, right?
I don't think anyone would have necessarily articulated that
Yeah.
maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
Like, there's a-
and that makes me feel a little like, not that I apologize for it, but that does make me feel a little.
I think it's good and bad,
Yeah.
but I do think that we are just... Everyone's different. Everyone has different thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
To be constantly policing yourself about what someone might feel or think about something
Yeah.
is going to...
Yeah.
Ideally, you're doing something for the greater good, and that's all
Yeah.
well and good, but
Yeah.
we know from comment sections in Canadian
Right.
newspapers or
Right.
websites
Yes,
that
yes.
people come out of the woodwork to decry things because it makes them feel some way, and I just
Yeah.
think artistically that's a weird space. Even what I'm saying right now, someone
Yeah.
will be like,
Right. Exactly.
I don't agree with that, and
Yeah,
it makes me...
yeah.
It's not only that I don't agree with it intellectually, you're negatively impacting me emotionally and mentally.
You know what I think it is? I think it's, if the desire is there to continue growing, to not always be right. I've been dealing with a lot of this over this release
That's a good
of
point,
like,
yeah.
I could have gotten it completely wrong, and respect victims of terrorism in a way that is something I wouldn't have thought about when I even wrote that tune.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if that's what I had to learn to get here, then that's then I take that with me as I go on to the next thing, right? And
Yeah.
it is that growth, right? And
It's growth.
Yeah.
Like I do think, like as much as I may have sounded negative about it, I think this is all significant societal growth. That the things you say and do are going to impact people in ways that you may not expect, and that's why it is weird for me as a comedy fan, because to watch routines by my comedic heroes or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
or movies even from
Yeah.
10 years ago, I'm like, wow, you could never say or do that now. And some of those comedians are kind of gone.
Kids in the Hall season 1.
Oh
No
my
one's
God.
written letters yet to the CBC, but there's blackface.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
Mark
whoa.
McKinney,
Yeah, we watched that just recently and went, oh, should they have put a little disclaimer at the front?
Yeah.
I think they should have.
Is that on
given
a
the recent
rerun or
election?
something?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's on their app, right? So you just look at it with a different lens and go,
Yeah.
whoa, guys.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting
Right?
because...
I mean,
I don't know. We're just at a stage where the things that were wrong then should have always been wrong.
totally.
But we weren't feeling that. We weren't feeling that at the time.
Yes.
So it is weird. You got a thing? What do you got?
Fisherman's friend.
Oh, you got a fisherman's friend.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry you're sick.
Pardon me, gentle listener. Yes, thanks, man. Thank you. As a workaholic, I tend to get sick when I'm not supposed to. What are you going to do?
The same thing happens to me.
Yeah.
Your body shores you up for the task,
Oh, yeah.
and then it lets you collapse.
I kind of like it, though. It is part of that regroup. We're just before the new year, the new decade.
Yeah. Do you have hope for the new decade?
Totally.
I can't tell if
Totally.
you're, based on your music, if you have, I think you do ultimately have faith in people, young people in particular, but
Yep,
it must
I
be,
do.
it
I
doesn't
do.
get harder and harder to have faith in people who vote and can vote for things and don't vote for the greater good maybe sometimes.
You know what? I think it's all part of the process. I do believe in people. I think the upside down situation we're in right now politically or is unfortunate. There's things to be done, things to be learned on both sides, and like I'm trying to sit down and dine with Doug Ford voters and learn a little something about them and try to love them equally as I remember the Swish LA line.
Yes.
When I was on with your live.
We did the
with
that's
Lido and
the
Sarah.
last time you were
right?
here. Yes, that's right.
And I
on the show.
believe that. I
Yeah.
believe that you should sit with someone that you disagree with, and hopefully over Swish LA.
Yes, that's right.
Good,
we
good
did
neutral zone,
we
right?
did promote Swiss Chalet.
A little bit of
because they're
comedy in
neutral,
there,
yeah,
but in all seriousness,
yeah,
I
yeah.
reflect back on that and believe it. I think you should be trying to have meaningful conversations in this year, almost 2020.
Have you had any of those?
I'm trying my best. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
And what are you learning?
Hell yeah. Like, sit down. You could find a Doug Ford voter easier than you think, right?
You think there might be one at Grandad's Donuts?
Right here, this paramedic.
We're in the north end here.
Goddamn, there are a lot of public workers, both police and paramedics, that come through Grandad's. It's a fascinating bit of anthropology.
Why
here.
is the donut a symbol
the
of
donut a
the
symbol
working
of-
class,
Yes, yes.
sort of, also the people who protect us most, who should be the most fit?
Right,
physically-
pounding the walnut crunches.
Cops, I
Yeah.
just did the same thing. Cops, paramedics, this is not good for them.
Mm-hmm.
They should know better. But maybe
Yeah,
it's an indulgence. Your life is hard and stressful.
You got to take a load off. Thank
Take
you
a
for your
load.
service.
Yeah, that's nice. Well,
There it was.
there's a chance that some voters like that are here, and I don't know, Rich. I'm confused. I feel like
Well, you're moving to Edmonton.
yes, I'm
You're gonna
moving
be
to
having
Alberta.
dinner. You're going to be having dinner with. I think that is the challenge, though, right? And not to be combative. Like I think I'm not interested in that. That's too difficult.
I just feel like we spend a lot. Even all social media is kind of like this. We spend a
Right.
lot of time either trying to emotionally manipulate each other
Yeah.
with a photo, with a comment. I do it. I mean, I don't mean to do it, but when I think back, I'm like, why? My father-in-law was like, why do you guys do this? Why do you post these photos?
Yeah. What's
And
in it?
Why do you
why?
post these comments? And I'm like, Well, I think what I said to him once, maybe 2 years ago, was I think, everyone is inherently sad and depressed, and I think that they express themselves in this way in either because they're trying to express that for sympathy
Yeah.
or some attention, or
Yeah.
because I think they want other people to know that they're not alone too.
That's I like that end bit.
There's no other way of articulating why we've all agreed
Yeah.
to take these photos of ourselves and
Yeah.
write our little comments
Yeah.
and share them. And then people like them or they don't like them, and you have to then you've made your little comment, and then you
Yeah.
have a real-time metric of how it's being processed. This cannot be healthy for us psychologically. I know it's not for me.
It's not real dialogue, though. That's the thing, right? It's not.
It's almost enough for people.
Yeah, and I do think that's dangerous, and I'm I appreciate any moment I can have, like this one with you, where you could actually try to unpack some of these things and say, wait a minute, man. Like, I think conversation is key, and we're not having enough of them. Like, we're really not, and trying to understand the other side.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to Alberta. And
You're our mole.
well, Edmonton is quite progressive.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, there's going to be... Dude, we are in Doug Ford's Ontario.
Yeah, exactly.
We are down the road from a city that elected Rob Ford to be their mayor, despite everything he had said and done. And if you hadn't gotten sick... Have you listened to that Gravy Train podcast?
No.
Oh, you should listen to that Gravy Train podcast. It's all about the rise and fall of Rob Ford. And they talk to some experts and people who say if he hadn't gotten terminally ill, he would have won. And
For sure.
despite everything, the crack, at that point there had been the scandals. And so all I'm saying is when Ontarians sort of snidely say, hey, you're going to Alberta, I think, well, we're in Doug Ford's Ontario.
Yeah.
I mean,
come down a notch.
He hasn't
We're not
been
exactly.
he hasn't been as hapless and bumbling as you would think. I mean, part of the reason my work life has been disrupted is because I worked at a place that was impacted by his initiatives, and so yes, I'm not going.
You take that personally, right?
Well, I do.
Yeah.
But I'm not running. I'm not thinking I'm running to some Swiss chalet. I think I'm. Yeah, it's going to be challenging, and the last government that province had was. NDP. It's, I don't know.
It sways, right?
And it does. That's the kind of problem is that I am someone very resistant to most change. I mean, I'm a progressive person, but in my own life, I like to know where I have systems. I know where my stuff is. I like the good donut store. I like the good coffee. And I
love good systems.
My wife's joke is every time I go to like one of our favorite Thai places, I say, every once in a while, I always get a pad Thai. Every once in a while, I say, you know what, I'm going to get something different. And then I'm George Costanza. I'm like,
you're always dialing in the same. Man.
I should have not got the different thing. I know what I like. I like what I like. Why does that? Why do I have to change it all the time? But this politics thing is like this. People just vote differently. Like, it doesn't even matter if it completely contradicts their last vote. I voted NDP last time. This time I'm going to vote for the... whatever they're called, the ultimate conservative party.
Yes.
And
the
they're
ultimate.
like, what are you talking about? Why are you doing this?
I got challenged. I was doing a talk at York, and I got challenged by a guy right around when Trump won.
Oh, yeah.
Got challenged in a music education class by one of the students, accusing me of being the liberal side of music. And the Royal Conservatory more straight side being the kind of more conservative. And I never looked at it that way. And I thought, wow, the only thing I've stood for in the classroom is this constructive anarchy, or standing for nothing almost, the nihilist spasm bend. Spoil your ballot, vote nihilist, right? But then I started thinking about it more often, and I thought, you know what? It's time to get political in the classroom. It's time to stand for something with conviction, do it with love, and I think you can move the meter. I think you have to keep that hope. Otherwise, in your circles too, in those communities that you are in, that's how you make the change.
I think we live in our little vacuums, and we don't know what's going on. You say have conversations with people, and where I was coming from with the, I don't know how we went on this tangent. It's probably my fault, but
it's good.
I also think that. I was talking about manipulation. I was talking about emotional manipulation, and I do think there's a point where we've come to recognize that it doesn't really matter what the facts are. Some people are just going to pick their side and not waver. And so you can't change their mind with a conversation. Whenever you see... I know the media is complicit in all of this, but they will occasionally do these stupid things where in America, they'll say, we talked to Trump supporters about the latest thing that he's being accused of, and they were not swayed. They think it's a whole, creation of the Democratic Party. And then they say, but what about the facts? Like,
what about grab them by the...
Whatever. Look at it. What he made
we
fun
were in
of
Detroit the day after grab them by that came out, and the Trump signs were still on the lawns. I thought, we're doomed. And he won, right? They don't care about
Well, like a lot of people say, the moment he made fun of the disabled reporter, it should have been done. And the fact that it wasn't says a lot about us. Or people. And so not us, not you and me, I don't think. But anyway... My point is, this is where the helplessness, hopelessness stuff comes in. Like, it doesn't seem the fact that for so many people the facts don't matter. They just base it on a weird gut reaction or feeling to people saying, "Well, I didn't like Kathleen Wynne, so I hated her so much.
Right.
And then you'd say, for better or for worse, I'm not trying to take a stand here, but were we not in a better position before?
I agree with that, but many don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and
but that's not fact based. This province elected someone with no platform, zero idea, zero present, just gun in for I'll win, and then you'll see what I do, and then and he won, and now the people who voted for him are like, wait a minute, my daughter's a teacher.
This is going to affect
my
me
granddaughter
personally,
goes to university. What are you doing?
Right.
And we're like, he had no. Why? How the hell is there a system where you can just? I'm getting too political.
I
in
think the thing
Grandad's
with you though is even you were personally affected by it.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, how do you remain loving and make it less about you?
Yeah.
I don't know how. If that was me, if I was, and he's cut every sector, so we're all affected
everyone's
by it.
mad at him specifically, but we're not taking ownership over a system.
Yeah.
A first past the post system, first of all, that is complicated, and then
Right.
I don't know what it means that people are this undereducated or underinformed. I know we're all busy and overworked and working multiple jobs, but...
And I'm not saying have a conversation with someone to change their mind. I'm saying have a conversation with someone to try to love them and find some common ground with them, even if they voted for Trump or Ford. I think there's got to be I've got to believe in that. Otherwise...
Well, you don't make music. I don't think you're making your weird music to change someone's mind. I think you're. We all.
But this is the world according to me, right? When I'm making my art, I'm trying to get that out there.
We're trying to show some sector of the world that there is another way of living and another way of thinking and another way of expressing yourself.
Right.
I don't know if that politics should have the same. Well, politics has the same elements to it, right? Except you've got to be persuasive and manipulative in convincing people of it. But, I'm very close to, I would be willing to take a test before I voted. That sounds snobby and stupid and probably a lot of difficult, but, just a basic, we have to do tests for so many stupid things that every idiot can pass. We all pass them. I don't know. And when I'm in a rush driving, I'm like, why do I have a license? I shouldn't. I'm safe. Don't get me wrong.
You were safe getting here.
I'm pretty safe. Yeah. But there are times where I'm like, any idiot could have a license.
Right.
And we see that with statistics.
Yes. Yeah.
So, the same token, anyone can just say I'm voting for this, and not be knowledgeable about any issues. And I think that's odd. But again, there's no way to police that. I don't know I'm not really proposing anything here. I'm just sad that people act this way. That's all. And I don't know what to do about it, and I appreciate that you're hopeful and still provoking people to think. And I'm trying to do the same with these long-winded spiels.
We got to. You got to keep hopeful. Otherwise, there's no. The other side is too bleak, right? It's
right. And I think we both, in our own way, in our own work, discuss the bleakness with the lightness.
Oh yeah, there's no hiding from it.
There's no hiding from it.
And it's the world's upside, just a mess right now. Yeah. But I, try to make sense of it and just be compassionate for those. You're right. We're all in pain. The more you realize that, the more you can be. Just put your best.
All about the
person
Facebook
out there,
posts
right?
or whatever I said to my
all
father.
Of it, yeah.
I think it's true. I think we're.
Half the people in this Grandad's Donuts right now are probably like that gentleman over there.
I can't look. I'm not going to
Don't look.
Okay.
But yeah.
Probably some pain.
Pretty sure there's a wee bit of pain meter on everybody, right?
And we're having
it's inevitable getting through this thing.
I mean, we talk about our pain. We gather for funerals and things because we want to commiserate with each other. Right, and that's fair. And it's just happening on a scale and under the guise of social media. That I think is a bit troubling. That's all. I sound like an old man, but I do think my father-in-law's point is why? What are you gaining from this?
What are you doing? Where's the human connection?
Why are you posting a photo of
your
child on the thing? And I'm like, I don't know why I am. Except for what I said.
Right.
I think
I
want other people to... one of my brother-in-law's friends at his wedding, we had our small son there with us, and she called him a trick baby. And I said, what does that mean? She was young and single at the time. She's like, that's a trick baby. That's a baby that is pretending to be a great baby so that I'll want a baby.
Oh, whoa.
And I was like, a trick baby, that's an interesting expression.
What a term.
And then I thought, but it did motivate me to be like, I kind of want to share some stuff about what it's like to be a parent in hopes that other people who are down on it or feeling that like we go through it too. My wife's
Yeah.
like, I feel like I'm a terrible parent because of something my kid said or did, or the fact that I let them do this thing. And then when we get together with the other parents, like, oh no, yeah, I do that. We all do that.
It's normal.
Well, we don't know if it's normal,
your
but
journey, right?
it's our
Yeah,
journey,
yeah,
and
yeah.
well, at some point you
Yeah.
have to give them the screen or whatever, or turn on the TV, and like that's
Right.
what she was feeling bad about.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, these kinds of open posts and discussions and provocations, I guess, to just get people to think about things like you do with your work, I think they help. They help people relate to you and to us, and recognize that we all have different kinds of struggles, and so yeah, I'm trying to look on the bright side of what I said earlier. Like maybe
I'd
there's
be worried there.
Well, there's a point to some of these posts, is all I'm saying. Like,
Excuse me.
anyway, it's complicated, but I think you've captured a lot of things on a very jarring record, if I might say, and I hope we've given people something to think about as they check out this new album, which has been out a while now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been out about a month.
About a month. So what are you working on next?
I mean, I'm going to be touring this record. I'm going to be trying to go to Europe in the fall of 2020, and
You've been before.
trying to give it a little. Yeah, I've been a bunch.
Yeah.
Trying to give it a little more time to breathe. But I'm going to be premiering a piece for a mechanical organ.
Oh,
I inherited this 115 pipe mechanical street organ.
oh,
So I'll be doing that in Guelph in September.
okay. September.
At the Guelph Jazz Festival.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What's the name of the
It's a one-man
project?
band kind of thing that
Okay.
I'll be performing along with this mechanical organ.
Okay.
So that's a new piece that I'm writing at the moment.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wish-
really interesting.
I wish I still lived in that town.
Oh, Guelph. We have all that in common, right? Like that we're in Hamilton at this Grandad's Donuts,
Yeah.
but I mean the Guelph thing is real. It's such a interesting city to me, and
Yeah, I know you've been fascinated with it for some
yeah,
time.
I don't
Why don't
know-
you just move there?
yeah, and a lot of
You want to
people
buy our
say that.
house? We haven't sold it yet. Do you want to buy the house?
There you go. There you go. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But yeah, I do love Guelph, and it always continues. You know what? It's really weird. Like you talk about where your work resonates,
Yeah.
and it's like Europe, Quebec, Guelph.
Yep.
I don't know why, but there's this
Well,
thing
we're-
that keeps
it's a-
pulling me back to Guelph.
So
you know? It's-
anywhere where there's people who are open to weirdness.
Yeah, I guess so.
And-
New Orleans, like I connected
Yeah.
with all these weirdos out there. The minute I landed, it's like they knew Ronaldo in the Loaf. No one knows Ronaldo
Yeah,
in the Loaf, right?
yeah.
They knew of Ronaldo in the Loaf, and I felt like I've been spending my whole life kind of refining my definition of weird
Yeah.
and these relationships with people like that
Yeah.
and the Spasm Band. And it all kind of makes sense. Oh, and I'll be finishing my PhD. I'm on the side. I'm doing a
On the side.
in the wee hours. I've been doing a PhD, and this will be my year to finish it. So
What's it in?
I'm looking at musical playgrounds,
Oh,
and that's why I was in New Orleans
Oh,
to
okay.
research this site
oh,
called the Music Box Village. Check it out online. It's really mind blowing. Really open, experimentalists, sound artists.
okay.
And so I went out there for about 3 weeks in May to research kids playing in that space. And I'm writing my dissertation now, so I'm about.
Can you
I'd say-
nutshell it
Yeah.
in a way? Like, what are your findings?
I'm looking at it as a musical playground as a vehicle for community building.
Okay.
In a lot of my work, that word comes up, right? The work I do with Regent Park School of Music, all based on community building through music.
Okay.
And my own weird music is community building
Yes,
through. It
that's
just
true.
happens to be really offside music, right? But it's
Yeah.
so it's looking at it through that lens, how it helps with community health, how it helps with curriculum development and music education.
This explains, maybe subconsciously at least, why you
Yeah.
might have brought your entire music community onto this new record. Like, you actually tried to bring everyone together.
Totally. I mean, that
in the
was,
back of your
and I
mind.
failed. Like, I didn't bring all the people I know and love on it, but I sure as hell threw the kitchen sink as many as I could. The work kind of loaned itself to that. Like,
Yeah.
I just as I went through it and figured out that was my way of creating it.
Well, it's amazing. It's an amazing record.
I don't know if I'd do it again. Like, I am excited by the idea of like a few humans in a studio just kind of hacking it out and doing it the standard way. But there's many. I'm also putting out, like in the new year, I'll be putting out a bunch of sample packs.
Oh.
Because I'm interested in that too, of not being so precious with the music and just saying, here's an idea, producer. If you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
throw something on it and do something with it, and seeing where that goes too. Like I think that's kind of a whole new audience of creatives, not necessarily just listeners to the final product. But
Right.
do you want to do something with this doodle, right?
Nice.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Well, that's great. I mean, you're a busy guy, and the work is fantastic and ambitious, and I value you if that makes any difference to you. And
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I always appreciate you giving time to all of the work I do.
I try my best.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up with everything. I'm just a person, and I can't do it all. And I sometimes feel like I'm like Oscar Schindler at the end of that movie. I'm like, I could have done more.
Yeah.
But I also am like trying to also rein that I can't do everything. I'm one man.
No, exactly.
But anyway,
exactly.
I didn't mean to make this bleak. Thank you for your compliment, and I'm doing my best.
Yeah,
And,
man. Appreciate it.
Where can people go to learn more about you and your wares?
FriendlyRich.com. Keep it old school, right? Yeah. I have a
Friendly Rich-
website.
Do you have a Bandcamp?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
all of that's on my website. Yeah.
Is the new record, it's a long record. Is it
Yeah.
on vinyl?
CD.
CD.
Vinyl
Okay.
I didn't do this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay, it's
prior
all,
releases
it's all
on
the
vinyl
rage.
though. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So friendlyrich.com, and then they can figure out the band.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a song from We Are All Terrorists that we can go out on?
Sure.
You're really eyeballing this fellow behind me. I can't see.
Yeah,
you.
I know. I'm not even looking at you anymore. It's just, we're having a staring contest,
Oh my
me and
God.
this man.
Okay.
Let's go Le Malaise. That's one I did with the Woodshed Orchestra, and
Oh.
it has that kind of. It's dark. It's about depression, but it's with the Woodshed Orchestra, who are nothing but bright and kind of. So that was kind of an interesting juxtaposition in that tune, and I'm really happy with what came from it.
My old friend Dave Clark is
Hey,
sitting
Dave
off of
Clark
me. Okay.
leads the show on this one. Yeah.
Okay, this is Le Malaise by Friendly Rich. Rich, thank you so much for being back on the show, and I hope I see you sooner rather than later. And
Cheers,
and
thank you,
thanks again to Grandad's Donuts for having us and for providing us with delicious donuts.
Very friendly here. Thanks, Vish.
You're welcome.
J'ai pardonné, pardonnez-moi, je m'en excuse, je suis malade, j'ai pardonné, pardonnez-moi, je m'en excuse, je suis tombé là. C'est un malaise, je m'en excuse, c'est un cauchemar, je suis tombé, Madeleine, je suis Madeleine, je suis tombé là. J'ai pardonné, pardonnez-moi, je m'en excuse, je suis malade.
Oh, it was very nice to feel like I was back in Ontario there for a little bit with my old friend, Friendly Rich, who appeared on the 517th episode of Creative Control, which is part of the Entertainment One podcast network and is available on all iOS and Android platforms and also on things like Spotify and YouTube and Audio Boom as well. If you can't find an episode that you're looking for, or if you want to learn more about me and sign up for my regularly scheduled newsletter, please visit my website, vishkhanna.com. You can like Creative Control on Facebook, or follow the show on Twitter at vishcreative, or follow me directly at vishkhanna. Also, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control to make a flexible monthly donation to keep this podcast going. Again, there is currently a $6 tier now, $6 or more, and you actually get exclusive access to content that I'm only posting on the Patreon. It's stuff from my audio archives. I think a lot of it's going to be very interesting to those of you who follow the show. So again, patreon.com/Creative Control to learn how you can access this stuff. Thanks as always to my local sponsors. Well, they used to be local. I'm in Edmonton now, but still, Pizza Trokadero, The Bookshelf, Planet Bean Coffee, and Grandad's Donuts in Hamilton. Also, thanks to Jim Guthrie. He lets me use music on this show, and I love him dearly. You can learn more about Jim at jimguthrie.org. And finally, thank you. Thank you very much for listening to this program, this episode, and other episodes of the podcast. Feel free to subscribe to it. Tell your friends to maybe check it out and do the same. And I will talk to you before you know it. I'll be right back with you very soon. So thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.